Okay, got the recording going.
Wow, Stephanie, nice background.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's from,
totally cool.
I'm
It's
so
from
jealous.
Zelda. It's from a video game,
Totally want to be there.
That's rad.
right?
Oh my God. You're in a world without COVID, Stephanie. I can see that.
I am. It's just fresh air and animals.
Looks like she got it. Where'd you get the haircut? Did you get a haircut, Stephanie?
No.
Oh. I thought you snuck a haircut in there somewhere too.
I can do my own hair, so that I'm living with advantage in these times. Yeah, I do the YouTube tutorial videos.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Has anyone else attempted a self haircut?
No.
Yeah, but mine's pretty easy.
Yeah. Just use you could probably use like a pet clipper and just well, it looks like we're filling up here. Maybe I'll wait just one more minute. Well, we could start introductions. We'll just say hey and how everyone's doing. And as always, Stephanie Schubert here with the Ames, Iowa edition of Pacifica. I'm doing okay. It's kind of cloudy today. It's kind of cool. It was interesting. My mother went to the grocery store the other day, and there was a lady who was upset that the deli was open for a day and then it was closed again because no one went. And she was like, I'm really brave. I don't understand why other people aren't doing it. And just still in that really disconnect between people who are working to social distance and people who aren't. So that's kind of frustrating, but I don't know how's the station doing, Ursula? Is she there?
Yeah, I'm here. Well, we're all sick here, and we've got hospital beds lining the front room, and we think Mike is the first to go. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, no, we're fine. We're fine. Just, I'm sorry. I'm just like, it's really frustrating. I mean, there's like complications, and I'm just like, they started at 6:30 in the morning and are continuing, and I'm in a really bad mood. So other than that, we're fine. Just, there's a lot of complications that happen. But we did blow up the station last week. We tried Sharon Scott's new system, and we did it by doing clean feed from another studio into the main studio. And in the middle of the program, there was this huge explosion in the studio, and everything went down.
Oof.
I think it was actually completely coincidental. I don't think it actually had anything to do with the clean feed. I mean, it can't really, but it was really exciting and kind of fun. And it was fun because everything came back up right away again, except for whatever blew up. We never did figure out what blew up. Everybody that was on we had like a Zoom program going with about 8 people on it. Everybody was still there when we went back up, and so I don't know. It was really interesting. It was very exciting. But we didn't know what it was that blew up, but it proved what I always say, which is we're doing radio. We're not making bombs, so nobody gets killed.
That's good. Well, speaking of sound, and I see Joseph Orozco says hello. He doesn't have a microphone.
Hello, Joseph.
I see Davyne. It looks you say you don't have any audio. Is that you, Davyne? WPVM? She might not hear me because she doesn't have audio. Okay. Maybe I'll type something here. in the meantime, well, Davyne was gonna do a presentation with us today on Dropbox, but we'll see if she's having issues, or maybe it's us, or maybe it's her. I'm not sure.
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's solved.
I had to undo this, my external mic, and go on the computer mic. And
Okay.
so now it's working.
Yeah, you sound good now.
All right. So are
Do
we
we
ready?
want to go? Let's go around the room real quick and say hello for everyone. Davyne, since you're already on the focus here, you could say hello and then pass it on to the next person.
So I'm Davyne Dial. I'm in Asheville, and I'll pass it on to Nate Albert, who's right beside me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nate Alberts, and running North Country Community Radio and WZNC-LP in Bethlehem out of my home, and remoting DJs in, and it's going all right. You know, we got most of our DJs on, and you know, of course, not everybody, but a few of the DJs are really itchy to get back in the station. So just kind of dealing with it, I guess. That's about all.
Okay, pass it on.
All right, Kevin.
Thanks, Nate. This is Kevin from WTSR, Trenton, New Jersey. I'm actually down in our basement studio. All college studios have to be in the basement for some reason. So no windows, and it's very hot in here. Things are going well. We've tested out the streaming system with a couple of people, and it seems to be working. So I think Monday evening will be our first remote broadcast, and hope to start getting more and more people to do it.
Very good.
Eugene.
Hello, I'm Eugene with WGRN in Columbus, Ohio, the Green Renaissance. I'm the chief engineer, and I was on the first Zoom meeting a couple months ago, but I have been busy with so many things. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about Dropbox because we're starting to use it more. I may have to drop off and come back in. My internet at home is quite unstable, so I'm going to use my 5G hotspot if I come back in.
Okay. Pass it on to your neighbor.
My neighbor is Nate. Have you already been on? I'm not sure. Nate?
Yeah, Nate,
Yeah,
Nate went.
been on already?
Let's see. Maybe find it. Yeah. Sandra and Joseph haven't talked yet. I guess Joseph doesn't have a mic.
Yeah, Sandra.
Hey, I'm with WVPU, St. Petersburg, Florida. We've been having power outages. The hurricane season has started already, and we're trying to, and we even had a tornado warning, and we're trying to, we're gonna have to get some more battery backups because apparently we don't have enough. So. But everybody's doing good. We don't anticipate opening up the studio for, at least another month or two. We're just going to play it safe. And so, yeah, we're doing everything pretty much remotely, one person at a time. There's a few people that can go in and out, and try to juggle that so that there's not a crossing of paths. But yeah, all good. Good to see everyone.
Cool. Thank you.
And I see Stephanie has mastered the art of the Zoom background. Very fancy.
Yeah, Sharon was the inspiration for that. She was the first one, I think, who broadcasted to us from outer space. So, from her. Speaking of, how are you doing, Sharon?
Hey there. Hey, everything's going okay. Kind of same as it was last week. We're still happily remoting and doing some renovations on the studio while the DJs are away, which is excellent. So we've always had just the live on-air studio, so now we're building a production studio as well. So we're actually moving all of our old equipment from the main studio to the production studio, and then getting some new equipment from the main sound room, so that there'll be some incentive for the DJs to come back after they've gotten so comfortable remoting at home. But we're doing okay.
Very
Good to see
nice.
everybody.
And I think John Fox, do you have microphone capability? How are you doing?
Hi there. Yes, I do. I'm a little bit in and out of the room, so that's why I didn't put the video on. But yeah, we're doing pretty well. This is has been a one-man operation for about 2 months now, with some volunteers sending in their shows remotely. It's working really well. A couple of them have really mastered the art of even modifying file paths so they can access our music library here at the main server. So they've been pretty clever that way. We've only had a couple of them, and it seems to all be Apple users that have not been able to come up with good sounding remotely produced shows. So I'd like to know maybe what everybody's experience is on that.
Very nice. Yeah, hopefully we can have time to talk about that too. And Joseph Orozco mentions that they have 3 at their station. They have enough room to work more than 6 feet apart, and he's eager to learn more about Dropbox. So that's a good transition. Davyne, take it away. And everyone, reminder to mute your microphones during the presentation.
All right, let me get screen sharing going here. So it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Ursula, do you have a on your participants menu on the bottom? Do you have a ability to allow people to do screen sharing? Looks like she's looking. That's funny because I don't think that was an issue last time. Maybe
I was able to share my screen last time.
Yeah, I thought you were. Yeah, you were.
I mean, I don't think my screen share function affects Davyne, does it?
It says host. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
How did I do that?
I guess, I don't know. My first guess would be to look on the participants button and see if there's options there.
See what I mean about what I was saying earlier about this day?
It's like just getting better and better.
Yeah.
I don't see any.
Is it under the more button? If you go up to the top, there's like 3 little dots that says more.
Yeah. It says stop video, spotlight video, make host, make co-host. What if I make you a co-host?
Pull up a chair. Pardon?
Let me try and make you a co-host and see if that.
Okay.
Maybe it has to do with like new stuff.
Okay, so Davyne, now you're a co-host. See if that makes a difference.
All right.
Okay, here also there's a thing that says multiple participants can share screen.
Ooh, that looks good. Looks like something's happening.
Yeah, something's happening here. Let me get these out of the way and pull up the PowerPoint.
Good job, Ursula.
Okay, so can you still hear me?
Yep.
Good. So this is Dropbox for community stations, and so our station is not completely live at all. We have like maybe 15 live shows. So we use station playlist that manages the station, and there are other automations that handle station automation too. And probably the steps are very similar because they would be all doing the same function. So our hosts and DJs are using their own audio recording, and some of them are using Zoom to record audio and video, because some of them like to share their video to Facebook, because we're in a small town, and the more we can get on Facebook or YouTube or whatever out to the community, the more it raises awareness of the station's brand and also the show that they're doing. So in the past, there was this kind of more convoluted way that I would put files in. So this is Chrome Remote Desktop, and I would go to whatever computer I needed to get into. Generally, to add new files, I would click on Producer, and that would take me to the Producer desktop, and then I would need to go to open Chrome on that computer, open my email, and in my email, I would have gotten an email note from James Nave, and he would have said, I've got a file ready for you to download and put into my file to play tomorrow morning on the show. So I would view the file, then I would go to the next step, and I would download it at that download arrow that's in the upper right. So this is one way to do it. This is a little more convoluted than a newer way that we're doing it. So I would find the MP3 file in my download folder, and then I would go to his folder, which is in what we've got a folder called Talk. And so I'd scroll down to his show, which is Twice 5 Miles, and I would add that last file, and then I would rename it 5 Miles, because that's what the automation is going to be looking for. So that's how the automation would know that a new show is up there. I would add the original version that he put, but I would change the name to 5 Miles. So in the new process that we're doing, this is our coding guy wrote this. The script is written to transfer files from Dropbox to the local media server. It checks on it hourly as a scheduled task, and the script automatically detects when producers upload new files to Dropbox. The script utilizes the Dropbox API to authenticate itself and to access files stored in our Dropbox account. So I have a Dropbox account, and in the next step, I'll show you how I get them to add the files. So then the script that he wrote, and he wrote a Perl script, transfers the files from Dropbox to our media, our server that has station playlist on it. The script reads a simple configuration file to tell it where to look on Dropbox and where to save the files it downloads. After the files are downloaded from Dropbox, the script takes no further action. The files are saved where station playlist creator expects to find them. So this is a screenshot of the script that he wrote. It's longer than this, but this gives you an idea. So if you have people in your organization that can write a script for Perl, then there's a way to do it. But Perl is not the only script that people, or not the only method that people write scripts. So, but you would need someone who knows how to code. So this is a screenshot of my Dropbox account. And in that account, I have put a folder for each of the shows that people are uploading. So if I want them to send me a file to their folder, I would go to Request Files, which is over on the right, lower right, you see those blue prompts there. I would send him from the file that I named his folder. This folder is for A Better World. I would go to the request files. I would send him an email saying, send me your files. That means they don't have to have Dropbox accounts. I have the Dropbox account, but they don't have to have it. So this way I request a file and I get a notice from Dropbox anytime someone adds a new file to their folder. So I'll get a notice, and you can see here, these are Jazz on a Summer Day, Mark Radio, 5 Miles. These are all files that they have uploaded, and those are notices that I've gotten from Dropbox. So then what I do is on the screen on the right, Laura sent me a file. She sent it this morning. What I do is I delete the one that's above it because that's last week's file, and I rename the new one just inaw.mp3. And then these on this line right here where it says inaw.mp3, 10-minute share, open, those 3 little dots there, you click on that, and that's where you can go rename a file or delete a file. So that's the key there that you need to know to work with those files once they get onto Dropbox. And that's it.
Oh, cool. Does anyone have any questions?
You can mail questions later if you think of them.
That's true. Everyone's just blown away.
All right.
So all that happens automatically. Now, as soon as they get the file to your folder, the script grabs it and plays it.
So when they send a file to their folder, I get an announcement. I get a note from Dropbox that they've added it. So I have to go in and change the name of the file. That's really the only thing I have to do. I have to delete last week's file and rename this week's file to the precise coding or title that we've got for station playlist to pick it up. But then it does go from my Dropbox up in the cloud. That script goes and captures it and puts it in our server to play, which I think is
That's excellent.
pretty wonderful.
Yeah. Saves a lot of time, I bet.
Yes.
Wow. Neat. That would be awesome to have something like that for the Pacifica shows too.
Go ahead. What?
Oh, I was just going to say it'd be great to figure out how to apply that coding to picking up stuff from Pacifica website. I don't know how that would work, but
Well,
it'd be a totally different thing. But just thinking.
No, well, on Pacifica, it's a really easy download. It just downloads the RSS file, and I don't have to do anything with Pacifica stuff. I just capture the RSS code, put it in a program called Juice, add that subscription to Juice, which is basically it's a file fetcher.
Mm-hmm.
And it will go, once I tell Juice what to get and where to put it, it'll be checking all the time, and anytime a new show happens on Pacifica on AudioPort that we subscribe to, it'll slap it into their folder and it'll play as scheduled.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. I didn't know about that. Thank you.
Is that the same thing as a aggregator, a file fetcher?
Probably, I'm not sure, but it basically what it's doing is it's going, so, like I use some of the shows that we carry WHYR down the road. So that's uploaded to AudioPort every week in 4 or 8 files, because it's a 2-hour show. and I tell it to pick up every one of those files, and Juice goes and gets it and puts it in the folders that we've got to play. And
Yeah.
that's kind of a complicated one
Basically-
because they break it up. But if it's an hour show and it's just one file, that's really easy. And Juice will go get it and play it as scheduled on station playlist.
Yeah, basically AudioPort is using podcast technology, so it's an aggregator of sorts. Yeah.
Nice.
We use a little software called Get Right, and I think it's $20, and we use it to grab Democracy Now, and then it'll actually rename it to whatever your automation system needs the name to be, and then imports it.
Yeah, and there's probably several that go and fetch these files for us.
Yeah.
So Juice wouldn't be the only one.
Right.
Yeah. Oops.
But it saves you having to go grab all that stuff, and then you have to remember to go grab it. So whenever you can set it up anytime for it to happen automatically, it takes stress off of you, and God knows we need that.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Is
Ursula,
it,
your mic though.
what's
Can you
that?
say again, Kevin, what you use?
It's called Get Right, GETRIGHT.
Does anyone else have any questions about Dropbox in general?
I need to find somebody who can script.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of it.
Well, and the first step that I showed you where I do it all manually, it takes a little longer, and I don't have a script, but you can do it without having a script. You just follow those steps that I said in the first half of this.
Right.
That's nice. Yeah, then there'd be more than one way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more than one way to do it. And it takes a little longer and it takes several steps, but you can still, stay out of the studio and do it from the comfort of your bed. If you have a laptop and you can work it from there. I do.
Well, that's a good note to end it on. Well, and we have some extra time too to talk about whatever's on people's mind. I remember John Fox, you had something that you brought up at the beginning. Did you want to talk about? I forget what it was, what you said. Maybe he was also, are you there, John?
I just ran in from the other room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was wondering what those who are producing shows at home, and I would assume that the files we were talking about just now are fully produced single file shows. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think everything you said, I'm sure, can be applied to where we're doing things where they're actually sending us sequences, and we have to assemble all the files here. But I'm sure it'll work the same way as what you just described.
Yeah.
My question was regarding our volunteers working from home. It seems like the ones with Apple equipment are having trouble making things sound good. And I was wondering whether everybody's experiences with PC versus Apple on remotely produced shows.
I would say it's probably more to do, oops, my mic on? Yeah, it's more to do with their software, I would think. I use Apple and PC equally, and I do audio editing on both, and I've never really seen that one platform or the other has better or worse sound quality.
Well, and I have no Apple equipment here in this building at all, so I got nothing to compare it to, but I'm hearing things like, well, I can't plug in a USB mic, or I can't plug in a mic and a headset, or they just seem to be running into technical problems, and they're trying to do their show on the built-in microphone on an iPad sitting halfway across the room. It just sounds awful.
Okay, well that's a different matter. That's not sound quality. That's a technical problem, and Macs are a pain in the neck because all the new Macs have gotten rid of all their ports. It's all USB-C, and you have to get adapters, and so that's a real pain.
So I've got this port, and it plugs into the side of my laptop, and then it takes all of the USBs and the HDMI and a sound card, SD card. But you're right, on the newer Macs especially, they've eliminated all those ports, and I guess they want you to do everything wireless or Bluetooth or something. I don't know, but I bought
Or buy
that
their
port.
adapters. Their overly priced adapters is what they really
Yeah, so I bought the overly priced adapter because Apple knows that it has me as an addict. They know that.
Yeah.
They're my dealer. I'm a card-carrying Mac addict.
I think one of the things about Mac over the years has been that Apple's philosophy is to make it foolproof. You know, computers for dummies, basically. And I don't mean that as an insult to any of you or anybody who uses Apple, but it just seems that that's their philosophy. And that's worked up to a point. But when you're getting a little bit more technical, like we're looking for a specific level of quality, and PC tends to be a little bit more open source as far as available programs and available accessories and things. That's what's, I guess, is really the issue here.
That's why our coding guy, he works in Linux because it's open source, and all of our computers at the station, that's how he handles it. So, you know, your point is well taken about Apple and their propriety nonsense.
So are you operating Rivendell then with Linux?
Pardon?
Are you, is your automation Rivendell then, since you're using Linux?
Well, we don't have any Mac stuff at the station. We have PCs. And then he comes in, he's got a computer that he comes in on an admin computer, and it's Linux based, but he can access, he's a networking person. He works for Cisco. So he kind of knows what he's doing, so he can get into our network, but he's on Linux.
Well, you're very fortunate to have somebody so IT literate.
We value him very much. He's worth his weight in gold.
Okay, I think that more or less takes care of my question. Thanks.
Okay, fantastic. I noticed, well, Eugene and Sandra are relatively new to our group. Do you guys have any issues that you're dealing with that you want to, you know, like use the group as a
Hang that up.
Sure.
Yeah, I know Sandra mentioned at the beginning about power outage and battery backup. Sandra, are you still there? Anyway, we've got a lot of problems with more frequent outages. So I'm designing a battery backup system. Perhaps we could have a session, a Zoom session about that in the upcoming weeks or something. But I'm just curious what Sandra, what you're using for battery backup.
Good question.
Well, we're just using expensive store-bought things that go in the rack, and then we had a few that we needed so many that we had a few that were just boxes. And I think what's happened, like they'll have one row that's surge protect only and one row that's battery backup. So we have to get in there and look, because I think some of our computers, some of the equipment will come back on automatically when power restores. And we've been getting a lot of power outages that might just be 5-10 minutes. So even if we just had a functioning, you know, store-bought battery, we would do that. But we are looking at, and I think Ursula actually had given the idea, which we're trying to pursue in some grant writing, to get a building-wide generator, because like during Hurricane Irma, we didn't lose power, surprisingly, because half of Florida lost power, and we remained on the air, and we were able to get calls in from shelters and tell people when things were closing, and it was really great. And we had a couple of supporters had brought to us tiny little generators that, you know, I don't even know how we were going to use them if we ended up, you know, just portable generators. So all we're using right now is store-bought, but we really need a system for the studio because the power is so erratic.
Are you able to back up your transmitters to keep them online too?
Well, right now, yeah, no, our transmitter is plugged in. Our transmitter is on the same site as our studio. It's all on the same property. And so our transmitter is similarly plugged into a store-bought battery. So at best, you know, you might get 15 minutes, half an hour, depending how old the battery backup is. So that's about all we have right now.
Yeah. When you say store-bought battery, what do you mean?
I can't remember the
A
brand,
lead,
but just something you put in the rack.
very heavy a lead acid battery.
I don't know
Like
what's
50
inside
pounds.
them. I just know. No, not even. I mean, they fit in the rack. They're maybe this tall, and you know, the size of a rack mount. You know, similar in size, about half the size of the transmitter. I mean, it's just a rack mount box.
Is it called a UPS?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're taking cheap UPSs and beefing them up with bigger batteries to start with, and that's been working. But to actually run the transmitter for 8 hours, you need really big batteries. So that's the next step I'm working on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was wondering how long do you get when you beef it? Oh, you're gonna power it with solar?
Yeah, solar and batteries and the grid when we have the grid. Yeah. Well, we can get with the batteries we have now, we can run everything but the transmitter. You know, the computers, the internet that grabs the streaming signal from airtime in the cloud. We can run everything for about 4 hours, except the transmitter. Yeah. So that's the next step. The transmitter takes about 500 watts out of the wall socket, maybe 600. So that's really a lot of power.
What watts are you broadcasting on?
We're broadcasting 1,000 watts, but because the antenna is only 0.5 gain, 0.5 gain, we need, and the cable, the coax run is pretty long. We need to put out 300 watts on the transmitter, and that's, you double that to get the power it requires out of the AC current.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that. Yeah, we have it set to about 200 something. Our allowed effective radiated power is 100, but we have to put out extra. So it's 2 something is what we run at, but I didn't know how that translated to actual AC power.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I look forward to hearing
more about that.
That's do that.
Important, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sandra, would you be interested to share in a Zoom call how that goes for you?
Not yet, but maybe in the future. But I would like to chat and change phone number, offer my phone number, and if you're, maybe I wouldn't mind talking with you offline about that, Eugene.
Yeah.
Sure. Trying to think like the best way to you could put that in the chat if you want. Put your phone number in the chat.
I'll do that.
Okay. Does that have to be in right now? We just hit the chat button?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll show up. And then what we've been talking about too is when I post the video, that when it's been recorded to everybody, we can use that as a chat too, as a thread for anyone who has any extra questions or something. We can keep the conversation going throughout the week. So that's something to keep in mind.
the other thing I wanted to ask about was, so right now we have been mostly Mac based, and we've been using Megaseg as automation, and we haven't even started doing something where we automate the RSS, although I was aware that that was possible. We just manually download stuff and stick it in Megaseg. We're moving I think both of our stream and our app over to Cirrus as a provider, and that's PC based. And I was curious what like either aggregator or automation software are people finding the best when or what are people using on a PC system? Is there a couple that are most common, or everybody uses something different?
Well, we're using Juice, and that's free, but the other gentleman mentioned one that he paid for, but Juice works just fine for us on our PCs. JUICE.
What are other people using?
We're kind of spoiled here at the college. We're using Wide Orbit, which is somewhat pricey, but it's rock solid and pretty advanced in its abilities.
Someone else mentioned one that was around $20 a month earlier in the program. I forgot the name of it. But it's going to be on the video.
Yeah, it'll be there. Which one does KHOI use, Ursula?
We're talking about the software that gets the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do it. We do
I thought we did.
manually because I use it as a canary in the mine shaft thing, because we have to manually deal with audio port all the time. It helps me catch problems. So we actually don't automate anything here. We will.
You don't?
But
you're live 24/7?
No, but you're not talking about automation software, are you? You're talking.
Well, both. Both.
Well, for automation, we use Zara.
Yeah, Zara.
But we've devised something that is not quite as advanced as what Davyne's doing, but we do have in our server, we have a system of folders where people put shows for for Zara to retrieve and put on the air. But everything is put in there by hand. So we don't automate that process. So we run at a relatively primitive level here, but partly it's to build in kind of labor redundancies to help me monitor for Pacifica. It helps me catch a lot of things. Kind of at the expense of our operations manager.
Joseph Orozco mentioned on the chat that they use Juice also. And for automation, they use Enco DAD. Does that sound familiar? Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah, we use Radio Logic for our automation system.
Yeah, that's one I've heard before too. Do you like it?
It's a little bit, it's all right. I guess it's worked for us, But yeah, we load all of our shows in manually through playlists on iTunes.
We're using Megaseg at Art FM. It's for Macs only, though. I don't know if we went off air for a second, so sorry I had to leave the conversation. So you know how that goes. The second you turn away, it was just our stream, but our FM was fine for some reason. So, but we're a totally Mac-based station. Our DJs use PCs. Many of them use PCs, but the sound is fantastic. So if anyone's getting bad sound out of Macs, it's user error, I would say, just to get back to the Mac versus PC question. But it's worked really well for us. And Megasec is wonderful for anyone who uses Mac computers. It's been remarkably easy to figure out how to use. We never did automation before this situation, and I was really dreading having to dig into that, and it's been much easier than expected. Although there's, with any computer thing, there's always little glitches that you have to figure out, but it's been great to work with, I think.
Sharon, I have a question for you. With the broadcasting from home that you're doing, how do your producers know when to start the show? Are they just watching the clock, or because you can't hear the radio station? So how do you know when to start?
So we make sure that the DJs have each other's phone numbers, the DJs that are before and after whatever DJ. So when a DJ is going off air, he or she will text the DJ that's coming on air and say, as soon as they push the stop broadcast button, and they'll say, I've stopped broadcast. And that sends the clue to the incoming DJ that they can now start broadcast and get connected. Some DJs do watch the clock, and when it's time for their show to start, they just automatically start pushing that start broadcast button, and they won't be able to connect until the preceding DJ disconnects. But it really works well to have them text when they stop. The next person knows that's when they start, and then the process continues.
Is there any sort of like lag or something, for the text to come through and then to be read?
Yeah, we have noticed there is a lag in the text messaging a little bit. So that's why some DJs just go ahead when it's their time to start. They just start pushing the button. And at first they'll get an error message while the preceding DJ is on air. And then as soon as that DJ hangs up, then they'll be able to connect. So some DJs do that just to prevent that lag. Sometimes we're just like, it's a few seconds lag, so we don't really, at this point in the middle of a pandemic, we're not that concerned about a few seconds lag time. And then I actually have it programmed so it will play a legal ID if there is a break, if there's much of a lag. So one DJ stops, and it also takes a minute for the stream to rebuffer and reconnect. So that's why I tell my automation to play a legal ID while all that happens. But then you got to be careful. The incoming DJ sometimes thinks their show starts right at the hour, and they start talking away and do their introduction, and the stream is still buffering and connecting, so they miss a little bit of that intro. So that's why I tell them to give a few minutes, at least a minute of music at the beginning of their show just to lead in. But yeah, it's really just up to them to coordinate, and some DJs do that much better than others. You know how that goes.
Does anyone else have anything on their mind they want to talk about?
Just that's good to hear what you're saying about Megaseg. I think I got the things confused between our stream, our app, and our and Megaseg that I'm referring to as automation. I don't know if that's the right word, but so it's good to hear that. And you say you are using that to grab RSS feeds as well. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we use it we've been using it for Democracy Now! That's the one show that we've been broadcasting from elsewhere before this. And we've been using it successfully to play Democracy Now! And now that our DJs are remote, we use the same process to have it pick up the RSS feed that the DJs are producing. And it's remarkably simple. I think it's a great program. And also their tech support is very easy to reach and attentive. I mean, they even follow up with you afterwards, is it still working, and that kind of thing. So highly recommended.
Yeah, we've noticed that too, where we had somebody come in, log into the wrong Megaseg account. We had no idea where all the songs went. We called them, and they fixed it. Right. They talked us right through it. So yeah, they were really great.
I wanted to mention a couple of audio port shows we have up that are fairly new. I missed your Zoom week on that. One is called Down Easy. It's an hour of Americana music, folk music, some rock, but not overly done with rock. And the way he mixes kind of a jazz vein into it is also very well done. And the host is a former classical radio host for many years in Columbus. So his voice is like gold, you know. It's called Down Easy on Audioport. And the other show is called Folk Soup, S-O-U-P, Folk Soup. And that's a mixture of a little bit of country mixed with folk, mixed with singer-songwriter, you know, guitar soloist kind of thing. We both like them a lot. We also have another show that's just fantastic called Bob's Basement Jazz. It features big bands. Bob himself is a stellar trumpet player who plays in around Columbus in 3 or 4 bands. He's also an arranger, so he really knows how to talk about the music. Bob's Basement Jazz. I'll put it up on the chat. It's not on Audioport yet, but you can log into our server there's no login credentials. Log in and just download it and broadcast it if you want. It's a 1 or a 2 hour option. Self-contained the first hour, and then you can just do the second hour, and he'll say, and for those of you listening to the second hour, coming up next is this, and then it starts the second hour. So Bob's Basement Jazz, and he's got quite a collection of big band stuff.
Those sound nice.
Yeah.
Sounds nice. It does. Great.
I also wanted to let you know that some of you were on the original call with Mark Allen Derry, who is from WHIV in New Orleans, and he's a infectious disease specialist and very, very knowledgeable about the coronavirus and really coming from kind of a social consciousness point of view. So he has started a daily update on coronavirus. Going to be putting that in Audioport starting probably next week. And I think it's going to be, I can't remember if it's 2 minutes or 10 minutes, but it's going to be relatively short, like a you know, kind of like a headline news type of thing. And knowing Mark, that should be very good. So just to let you know, that's going to be showing up in Audioport soon.
Nice. Like a PSA for the coronavirus section.
I think it's more like a headline news type of thing.
Oh, like it's its own separate show?
Yeah, it's going to be like
Oh.
a mini newscast, like 2020 Talks is.
Oh, cool.
Just on news about the pandemic news.
That's
So,
cool.
Yeah.
Ursula, you had mentioned that Mayo Clinic Radio was stopping their upload to Audioport, but I did want to mention that they do still produce a Q&A with one of their doctors, and you can just go manually download that from a podcast.
Okay, great.
So they are that, and that Q&A has a lot of really good information on it.
Nice.
I also want to mention that we are very, very close to launching our podcast website. If any of you have podcasters or programs from your stations that you're interested in podcasting, I don't know, Stephanie, how close do you think we are? I think we're weeks now away.
I think so too, though I said that
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, but I
Yeah.
really think it's more likely to be true now.
Yeah, I mean the hosting has been finished. It's really kind of getting the graphics proper now.
Right.
So-
Yeah, the nuts and bolts are there. It's more the look of it now. So
Yeah, so maybe we'll do a presentation here on it when it's really ready to show. But
that's a
if,
good idea.
yeah, some
Yeah.
stations are interested in being part of a podcast network. So just so you know, that's in the works.
Does anyone know anything about the licensing in this regard for when you have music? Because some of our podcasters, they clear out, if they put a podcast up, they clear out the music because they don't feel like they've got a license to put it out there as a podcast. Does anybody know? Maybe they're misguided.
No, they're not. You absolutely cannot put music in your podcast unless it's license free. Absolutely. It won't happen.
Or you have permission from the artist, right? That's
Well, permission from the art, you have to have permission from who owns the license.
Yeah.
Most
So,
artists, they don't own the music.
So this new podcast programming can't have, it's for talk and informational stuff.
Or podcasts with license-free music in them.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a guy that does a great talk show, and he's gotten a local musician to make the background music and the interlude music, and it's turned out really nice. So that's how he's able to get around that.
Yeah.
And gets a little publicity for the local artists too. So it's cool. Has anybody had any trouble with, fake news, bad advice, drinking, DJs telling people to drink bleach or take unapproved medicines or anything like that?
Good question.
You guys.
I've been.
The president does it, so and literally like people have told me that, he does it, so why can't we?
I've been getting complaints about one show, Audio Port, that is a conspiracy theory show. And to be really honest, I haven't time to look into it, but I noticed that somebody's complaining about a show on Audio Port.
Do you know what show? Do you know what show that is?
I don't right now, and I'm sorry, I don't. I haven't had time to hone into it yet.
It's not a geoengineering watch, is it?
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up because I don't remember what show it is. And
That's next week.
next week I'll tell you. Yeah, but
yeah, we have a DJ. I mean, she is truly one of our most amazing radio hosts. She's very engaging, and people love her show. I love her show. She's been with us 7 years since we launched online, and always been a great member of the team. But recently, she's kind of just like gotten on this kick about some like real like far out stuff, about and giving people, unsound medical advice, and then launching into different conspiracy theories about like New York City nurses killing people, this kind of like really like on Nurses Day, she was like talking about this. I literally had to like log in and stop the broadcast, which is
no.
Yes.
Was she talking about bleach?
One thing she was talking about was, this is before the pandemic. I had to talk with her about, she was telling people to stop taking their antibiotics and start taking elderberry instead. So I had to converse with her about that. And after that conversation, she's like, you know what, I just quit my show, and she quit and she was done. And it was like, well, if you can't uphold that law, that's, I'm sorry. But then anyway, we ended up working that out. And I thought she kind of understood, but then in the midst of this pandemic, she started talking about, something that's made her feel better and be more relaxed is a practice called sun gazing. I'm not sure if you guys have heard
I haven't heard that
of
one.
that, but it is exactly what it says it is. So she was like literally telling our listeners to stare into the sun, that would be a good thing to do. And so then I confronted her about that. That was when I definitely had to cut her off the air, broke in, did a, disclaimer, and, and then had a conversation with her about it. And her, her justification was, well, our president tells people to drink bleach, so why can't I tell them to do that? And then that was,
wow.
And it got into it was just weird because, you think you know somebody and then you have to have some kind of conversation like this. And she just
Wow.
wasn't, she got on this whole thing about like obviously, it's only censorship around here and like all this whole like tirade, and then went all over social media, about how she's being censored on the radio and all this kind of thing, which is absolutely not the case. I mean, for 7 years, she's been able to say and do pretty much whatever she wanted to. In fact, that's the goal of our station, is to give people the freedom to say the things they can't express elsewhere. But obviously we can't be espousing bad medical advice or, or conspiracy theories. I was just wondering if anybody else has had, these kind of situations with their DJs. I mean, it'd be much easier if she was a DJ that was constantly messing up and she did a terrible show and nobody liked her. But it's much more difficult when it's somebody who does a really great radio show and they're a great member of your team.
Yeah.
But you just can't seem to get through, about these issues. And, and then it really hurts when they're sitting around saying, we're just trying to suppress them or whatever. Obviously, our whole mission is the opposite. So I was just wondering if anybody had any tips. Yeah. Hey, Eugene.
We have someone who is our lead programmer, and she does station editorials, and we'll talk about this conspiracy theory stuff. And it's pretty far off the deep end in some respects, but at least we had to mention it to her, and she's not doing that anymore. But she insists on us running this geoengineering watch, Dane Wigington. A lot of what he says is plausible, and perhaps, governments doing chemtrails to kill us all or whatever, that kind of thing. And a lot of what he says is based in some sort of sketchy science, but possible science, So we air it anyway with a disclaimer before the program. But the thing I'm finding during this pandemic is that it's so hard to find. I think it is reasonable to air opinions on supplements and things like that, diet that one can do to boost one's immune system, like zinc, vitamin A, vitamin C, that particular kinds of vitamin C that are better absorbed, like liposomal C, or what's the other one called? Ester C. But shows like Tom Hartman, which we air weekly, every day, Tom Hartman will not let anyone call in and talk about supplements because he considers it, questionable medical advice. But I think we kind of disagree on our station, and it'd be nice to, to have somebody, to have a show where somebody talks like Your Own Health and Fitness. We miss Your Own Health and Fitness. We used to air it, but that's just my opinion. I think we should feel free to talk about supplements.
Yeah, Your Own Health and Fitness was Corinne Fernari?
No, that was, I'm trying to remember her name now. It was two.
She was from California, right?
Yeah, KPFK.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
KPF. Yeah.
Well, Sharon, that I really feel you on that one. That really is unfortunate, and I guess when you say any advice, the only thing I would have to say to that, because I really relate to what you're saying, and at moments like that when I'm in that position, the only thought that I find really helps is that you have to do it because there's really, really good and responsible people that are, at the station that are watching, and they're depending on you doing the right thing. And it's almost kind of like you have to focus on them. Because it's horrible what you're describing. I've been in that situation, not with this, but in other cases, where you really don't want to have to be the bad cop, but you do, because there's a lot of people watching you who will be really, will continue to do good work because they see that you're protecting them. And that's all you can do. I mean,
Also, it gives the enemies of your station, puts a target on your back.
Yeah, you know it, don't you? We've been through that. I'm sure some other stations have here too. But yeah, there are people who don't like what we're doing because we are giving people voices and we are something outside of the mainstream media. And so there are, I think, a lot of enemies of community radio in general, and then of our specific stations for one reason or another. So yeah, you never know what they're going to be out there listening for and trying to catch you on. And then also just the responsibility to our listeners, imagining, hopefully our listeners are smart enough that they know they're not going to stare into the sun. But just thinking that someone might listen to that and go out and hurt themselves over something that they've heard on our radio station. It's just, you know,
Yeah,
too
it's
much
a
to bear,
lawsuit.
really.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Right.
And also, you have a responsibility to your other DJs who are trying to not put out really fringe stuff. It's an association thing that needs to be considered.
Yeah, very good points, both of you all. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I guess that just helps to, you know, give me more confidence in that we're doing the right thing, and you have to do these hard things. And I don't think any of us got into this wanting to be like the man or the boss or whatever, anything like that. But when we have to, you know, it is our responsibility to our listeners and to the rest of our staff to do that. So anyway, thanks for the encouragement. And Eugene, I agree with you completely about, I think, you know, recommending supplements and that kind of thing doesn't seem like as much of a problem as putting aside your prescribed medication in order to take these supplements. So, you know, just at least a disclaimer that they need to talk to their doctor before they make those decisions. That's what I ended up having her do. So
that makes sense too. We run into that a lot at the grocery co-op I work at. There's a lot of people that come in there because they see Dr. Oz on TV and they want the latest weight loss thing, or, you know, like the latest miracle. And people who work the wellness section have to constantly remind people, you know, we're not allowed to prescribe things. We're not doctors. You know, we can say what's popular or what the ingredients are, you know, but, you know, we just can't go there, like, and it's a constant thing. And it's hard because you think that mostly day to day people won't be staring at the sun, but if there's someone who's really stressed or feeling really vulnerable or just is in pain, you know, they're going to be the person who's looking for those miracle things that, you know, will, or who knows what the real story behind them is. So yeah, I know it's like a big responsibility.
Well, speaking of miracles, this whole bleach thing started because a church in Alabama or somewhere was recommending to Trump to use this substance called MMS. MMS, it stands for something miracle solution, and it's basically bleach, but the instructions on it say take 1 drop in a gallon of water. And years ago, my chiropractor prescribed it for me because I was having some kind of parasite problem. But that's the point. It's 1 drop in a gallon of water. And suddenly it blew up across the media landscape as drinking full-fledged bleach, which it's interesting how a story can spread and get distorted like that.
That is quite a different, a spectrum. I remember someone who walked the Appalachian Trail, and I think that was something that he did too, was like there was a drop, it was a bleach or something, and like a whole large amount of water to make it sterile or whatever the word was. Anyway, I don't know for sure, but anyway, don't drink bleach. Well, we're about an hour and 15 in. We can wrap it up here, or if anyone else has anything more they want to say. I think I'll read something quick from the chat, since the chat doesn't make it onto the recording. I remember Joseph said, when you were talking about power backup, he said we're purchasing 5 UPSs to run every separate room until the generator kicks in. Right now we have 1 to run it all. And then John Fox followed up on that saying, for any major expenditures on UPS units, consider new lithium ion technology, about 30 to 40% more expensive upfront, but with better performance and longer battery life that will eventually lower your overall UPS costs. Also, look for units that have the ability to daisy chain additional banks of batteries to increase runtime. But without major battery capacity and ability to recharge them without grid power, remember that UPSs are really only to allow no drop transition from grid to generator or an orderly shutdown without losing unsaved work. Okay. Thank you, Davyne, for giving your presentation today on Dropbox. It was very, very helpful. And it's also cool that there's more than one way to do it. So in case people aren't coding geniuses. Anything else? Maybe we could talk, maybe next week we could do our emotional sharing stories. I know that's something we started to do one week, and that seemed to be very helpful for everyone. So we could tentatively just have kind of a venting session of what people are going through. We could plan on that, and otherwise, if there's nothing else, I'll just say thanks again for everyone joining us. It's always great to hear everyone's point of view and how things are going and what you know and what you share.
Thanks, Davyne.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you for holding these. It's great.
It's
Yeah,
very
you're very
helpful.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Eugene. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, you too, Sharon.
All right.
Take care, everybody.
Cool. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Great session.